I've been driving long-haul routes for 11 years, and the one thing every experienced trucker will tell you, the one rule that gets drilled into you before you ever touch the wheel on an overnight run, is simple. Never pick up hitchhikers. I broke that rule once. I'm not writing this down because I expect you to believe me. I'm writing it because if you ever drive the M6 between Junction 34 and Junction 40, in the early hours, if you ever see someone standing at the edge of the hard shoulder with their thumb out at 2 a.m., I need you to keep driving. Just keep going. Don't do what I did. It was a Thursday night in late October, technically Friday morning, 2:15 a.m. I was hauling a load of building materials north through Lancashire, running a route I'd done maybe 200 times before. The kind of route you do on autopilot. Your hands know the wheel. Your foot knows the gradient of every hill. Your eyes skim the cat's eyes without really thinking about them. The cab was warm. Outside, the temperature had dropped hard. One of those first genuine cold snaps of autumn where the air feels sharp and mean, and the road mist hangs so low and white in the headlights that it looks like something breathing. I had the radio on, some overnight talk program, two hosts discussing absolutely nothing at low volume. The background noise you keep on not because it's interesting, but because the silence on an empty motorway at 2 a.m. is a different kind of silence to any other you'll ever experience. It's not peaceful. It never is. It's anticipatory, like the road is waiting for something to happen. I was about 6 miles past Junction 34 when I saw him. Just a shape at first, caught in the very outer edge of my headlights, a figure standing on the hard shoulder, facing the carriageway, thumb extended, still as a post. My first instinct, trained, professional, sensible, was to do nothing. Keep the speed, give him a wide berth, move on. And I did. For about 4 seconds, I did exactly that. But here's the thing. It was 2:17 a.m. The temperature outside was reading 3 degrees on my dash display. This was a motorway, not a slip road, not a lay-by, not anywhere near a service station. The nearest junction was almost 4 miles back. There was nothing out there. No broken down car on the hard shoulder, no hazard lights blinking in the dark, nothing. Just this man standing in the cold and the fog, in the absolute middle of nowhere, utterly still, and that stillness is what got me. Most hitchhikers move when a lorry passes. They flinch from the slipstream, turn their head, track the vehicle with their eyes. This man didn't move at all. He stood there as I passed, facing forward, thumb up, like a photograph of a person rather than an actual person. I told myself I was tired. I told myself I was imagining things. And then, before I'd consciously decided anything, I was already moving into the left lane, already slowing down, already pulling onto the hard shoulder about 200 meters ahead of him. I sat there with the hazards on, watching him in my wing mirror. He walked toward the cab. Slow, steady pace. No hurry whatsoever. I buzzed down the passenger window as he reached the door. He was a man, maybe late 40s, medium height, slim build. He was wearing a dark coat, wool, I think, and it was the wrong kind of coat for the weather. Not a hiking jacket, not something waterproof or practical, a formal coat, the kind you'd wear to a funeral. His face was ordinary. That's the word I keep coming back to. Completely, almost aggressively ordinary. The kind of face you'd forget 5 minutes after seeing it. Brown eyes, pale skin, light stubble. No bag, no luggage of any kind. No bag, no luggage of any kind. "Thank you for stopping," he said. His voice was quiet and very even. No shivering, no breathlessness from the cold. "I appreciate it. Where are you heading?" I asked. "North," he said. Just that. North. Not I'm trying to get to Preston or I need to reach Kendal. Just north. Like north was a destination in itself. Like it was the only answer the question deserved. I paused for half a second. "I can take you as far as Junction 38, I said. "After that, I'm cutting east." "That'll do," he said. He climbed up into the passenger seat, closed the door, settled in, and that was the moment I noticed the first thing that was wrong. No smell of cold on him. You know that hit of winter air a person brings inside when they've been standing out in 3-degree weather? That crisp, outdoor, faintly metallic smell that clings to their clothes and their skin and their hair. He didn't have it. He smelled of nothing. Not cologne, not cigarettes, not food, not rain, not road. Just a complete absence of smell, which is its own kind of smell. And it sat wrong in the warm cab in a way I couldn't explain. I pulled back out onto the motorway. The talk radio murmured on. He didn't say anything for a while. He sat with his hands folded in his lap and stared at the road ahead with that same quality of stillness I'd noticed when he was standing on the shoulder. Most passengers fidget. They look at their phone, or they adjust the seat, or they make small talk to fill the space. He did none of those things. He just sat. With a kind of patience that felt almost geological. A long way to be standing on the motorway, I offered. After maybe 5 minutes? Yes, he said. Car breakdown? A pause. Not a thinking about it pause. A longer pause, like the question had to travel some distance before it reached him. Something like that, he said. We drove. The road unreeled ahead of us, empty and pale in the headlights. The mist was thickening as we gained elevation, and the cat's eyes caught and flashed and disappeared in the dark like something blinking beneath the surface of the road. Then he spoke again. You'll want to slow down in about a mile, he said. There's something on the road. I looked at him. What do you mean? Just slow down, he said. You'll see. Just slow down, he said. You'll see. I was about to say something dismissive, but I felt it, that thing experienced drivers develop after thousands of hours behind the wheel. A kind of early warning instinct that lives somewhere below conscious thought, a faint, prickling unease. So I eased off the throttle, brought the speed down from 56 to 40. About 90 seconds later, my headlights caught it. A length of steel rebar half hidden in the shadow of the central reservation, lying straight across both left-hand lanes. I swerved, gentle, controlled, into the middle lane. The rebar passed under the outside of my trailer with about 8 inches to spare. My heart was going hard. I blew out a slow breath. How did you know that was there? I spoke. I was walking this stretch earlier, he said. I saw it fall from a vehicle, which was possible, which was a completely reasonable explanation, except that we'd been traveling at motorway speed and that rebar had been nearly a mile from where I'd picked him up. And I had seen him in my headlights, standing completely still on the hard shoulder, not walking, not moving at all. Standing still. I didn't say any of this. I kept driving, but something had shifted in the cab, and we both knew it, and neither of us said a word about it. The radio host had moved on to another story, a listener account about a figure seen standing at the end of a bed 3 nights in a row, always gone by morning. The passenger seemed to be listening very carefully. His eyes hadn't moved from the road, but there was something in the quality of his attention that made me think he was absorbing every single word. Do you believe in that sort of thing? I asked, keeping it casual, making conversation the way you do when you're trying to stop yourself thinking too hard about something. In what sort of thing? He said. Not a question, just the words repeated back. Ghosts, what they're talking about on the radio. Another of those long, traveling pauses. I think the word ghost is imprecise, he said. It suggests something that doesn't belong, something out of place. He paused again. Most things that frighten people belong exactly where they are. The cab felt smaller than it had before. I turned the heating up a notch. We were approaching junction 36 Kendall, the Lake District, when the radio began to break up. This happens on that stretch sometimes. The signal gets eaten by the hills, but this was different from ordinary interference. Instead of static, the signal fragmented into something rhythmic, something deliberate, a sound like breathing, slow, deep, amplified. At perfectly regular intervals, underneath the dissolving voices of the hosts, I reached for the dial, changed the station. The breathing again. Different frequency, same rhythm. I changed again. Breathing. I turned the radio off entirely. The silence it left behind was extraordinary. It had weight. It pressed against my ears like a held breath. Third time, the passenger said, "Excuse me? Tonight." His voice was very quiet. "That's the third time you've heard that sound." I looked at him. "I don't know what you mean." "At junction 34, he said, you had your window cracked an inch. You heard it in the wind as you were approaching the bridge. You thought it was traffic noise passing overhead." He turned and looked at me for the first time since we'd set off, and his eyes in the glow of the instrument panel were very dark and very calm. "And before that, at the services, earlier in the evening, you were parked up on your brake, eyes closed. You heard it, and you told yourself it was a lorry idling in the next bay." My mouth had gone dry. "How do you know where I stopped?" He smiled. It was the first time he had smiled. And it didn't reach his eyes, not because it was cruel or cold, not the sinister smile of a movie villain, but because it was the smile of someone who has been asked a question they find quietly, deeply sad. "I've been behind you for a while," he said. "I want to be precise about the next few minutes, because it matters." My immediate instinct was threat assessment. Lone man in the cab, night motorway. No phone signal. I'd checked twice since junction 36, out of habit. Nearest service is another 18 miles north. I'm not a small man. I've handled difficult situations before. I looked at his hands in his lap. Empty. Still. He didn't read as a physical threat. That was the problem. He read as something worse, something I had no category for, no framework to hold. "Been behind me, how?" I spoke. "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." He looked forward again at the road. "You stopped for me," he said. "Most don't. Most feel something when they pass and they keep driving. You felt it too. I know you did. That hesitation before you stopped. That was the correct instinct. A pause. But you stopped anyway." "Why are you doing this?" I said, not aggressive. Genuinely asking. "I'm not doing anything," he said. "I'm just riding along." I stared at the road. What's north? A long silence. The motorway was empty ahead of us. Not a single vehicle in either direction, which on the M6 overnight is unusual, but not impossible. The mist was thick on the fields to either side, swallowing the fences, swallowing the hills. "There's a boy," he said at last. "He'll be on the hard shoulder near junction 38. He's been walking for about 3 hours. He's very cold and he's frightened, and he made a poor decision earlier tonight and he needs to get home." I said nothing. "That's all. That's what's north. You'll see him on the left before the junction marker. He'll be wearing a red jacket." "And you?" I said quietly. He looked at me one final time. "This is fine for me," he said. "I'll get out here." Here, I was doing 52 miles an hour. There was no hard shoulder, no lay-by, nothing. "I can't just, we're on a live lane, you can't." "It's all right," he said. "Thank you for the lift." And he reached for the door. I grabbed for him. Pure reflex, not a decision, and my hand closed on the passenger door handle, and nothing else. The seat was empty. The door was closed. Locked exactly the way I'd heard it lock when he first climbed in. No rush of cold air. No change in cabin pressure. No sound of a catch releasing. No slipstream. Nothing. The seat was empty and the door was locked and the cab was warm. I was completely, utterly alone. I pulled onto the hard shoulder 2 miles up the road and sat there for 4 minutes. I know it was exactly 4 minutes because I watched the clock on the dash. Second by second, while my hands lay flat on my thighs, and I breathed slowly and deliberately until my heart rate came down to something I could function on. Then I pulled out, kept driving north. I saw the boy before the junction marker, exactly as he'd said. Left-hand shoulder, red jacket, vivid, almost fluorescent against the dark and the mist. He was moving slowly, arms wrapped tight around himself, head down, shoulders hunched, when my headlights swept over him. Hand against the glare, I pulled up ahead of him and buzzed the passenger window down. He stood at the bottom of the cab door and looked up at me with the expression of someone who has been frightened for a very long time and has started to go numb at the edges of it. "You need a lift?" I spoke. He nodded. Couldn't speak, I think. His lips were white with cold. "Get in," I said. "There's a blanket behind the seat." He climbed in. He brought the cold with him. That sharp, real, outdoor cold, that clean, honest smell of winter air on clothing and skin and hair. He pulled the blanket around his shoulders and sat there shivering, and I turned the heating up to full and drove without saying anything, giving him time. He told me his story in broken pieces over the next 40 minutes. Night out in Kendall, argument with friends. One wrong decision leading to another and another. The way they do when you're 17 and too proud to ask for help. He'd ended up walking the motorway in the dark, trying to reach a cousin in Carlisle. Phone dead. No cash. No way to call anyone. Just walking and hoping and getting colder. I dropped him at junction 43. His cousin lived 10 minutes from the junction and he knew the roads from there. He climbed down from the cab and then leaned back up through the open window the way people do when they want to say something and don't quite know how to start. "Can I ask you something weird?" he said. "Go ahead." "When you pulled up, your passenger window was already down." He frowned, genuinely puzzled, "before I even put my thumb out. Before you could have seen me properly." He looked at me carefully. "How did you know to stop?" I looked back at him for a moment. "Someone told me you'd be there," I said. He stared at me. Then he nodded slowly, the way young people do when they're filing something away to think about later. When the immediate crisis has passed and there's finally room again for the things that don't quite make sense. "Thank you," he said. He stepped back. I drove. I've done that route maybe 30 times since that night. I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. Maybe nothing. Maybe just proof that I imagined the whole thing, that exhaustion and isolation and too many late nights had done something strange to my mind. But I went back. About a week later, in daylight, I parked in the lay-by before junction 34 and walked the hard shoulder, the stretch where he'd been standing. The ground on the hard shoulder, there is soft clay underneath the tarmac. You can see where the surface has cracked and buckled over the years. And beneath it, the pale clay shows through like bone. I walked 100 meters in each direction from the spot where he'd been standing. There were no footprints in the clay. Not one, not anywhere. The night had been still. No wind to speak of. Cold enough for the clay to hold a clear impression for days. I'd walked that same stretch in my boots and left clear, deep prints with every step. He had left nothing. He had been standing there long enough for me to feel wrong about leaving him, long enough to look like a man who'd been there a while, waiting, and the ground had no memory of him at all. On the drive back south, coming through the same stretch of road, I rolled the window down an inch as I passed the bridge above junction 34. I wanted to test it. I wanted to hear nothing. I wanted the wind to just be wind. I heard it. 3 breaths. Deep, slow, perfectly measured. Coming from somewhere below the sound of the road, somewhere below the wind, somewhere that didn't have a location I could point to. 3 breaths. Then nothing. I rolled the window back up. I drove. I have not driven with the window open on that stretch of road since. I don't know what I picked up that night. I'm not sure picked up is even the right way to say it. Maybe the right phrase it was allowed to encounter. Maybe the right phrase it was used by something that has been moving up and down that road since long before the road was there. And maybe it helped me find that boy. Maybe it would have found another way if I hadn't stopped. But here's what I know for certain. ... knew my route. It knew where I'd parked for my break. It had been following me for hours before it let me see it, or before it chose to be seen, which is not the same thing at all. And when I asked what was north, it told me the truth. I think about that more than anything else. More than the empty seat. More than the locked door. More than the footprints that weren't there. Something that leaves no marks on the ground, that passes through locked doors, that rides in the cab of a lorry at 2 a.m. on an empty motorway, and when you ask what it wants, it points forward and tells you the truth. I couldn't decide for a long time whether that was comforting or terrifying. I've decided it's terrifying, because if it told me the truth about the boy, if that small, quiet, specific truth was something it chose to offer, then it means it has access to other truths too, about other nights, about other stretches of dark road, about all the small, cold, hidden things that happen between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. on motorways that have no cameras and no witnesses. Whatever it is, it's careful. Whatever it is, it makes deliberate choices about what you're allowed to know. It measures out truth in small, precise amounts and gives you only what serves its purpose. And the next time you're on a long, empty road in the early hours, the next time the radio breaks up somewhere it shouldn't, and you hear something beneath the static that sounds slow and deep and rhythmic and almost like breathing, remember that it doesn't get in unless you stop. Remember that I felt something was wrong before I ever slowed down, and I stopped anyway. Don't.